If you like the idea of owning an electric car but need to move your family around, you need something probably a little bit bigger than most EVs on the market. This is Out Motorsports, the channel for cars as you are. My name is Jake and I'm here with the 2024 Kia EV9. This is a 3-row all-electric crossover from Kia. It is roughly the size of their popular Telluride, but like I said, it's all electric. So let's just dive right into what this thing is and talk about how it drives. So this is just an electric Telluride, right? Well, yeah, for the most part. This is roughly the same size in every dimension, both inside and out. You might find things within half an inch here and there, and this is slightly down on cargo space with the third row up by like maybe half a cubic foot or so. But in general, this is going to be basically Telluride size. So if you've been shopping the Telluride, or if you own one and you love it, this will be more or less the same size vehicle. If you own something like a Nissan Pathfinder, a Ford Explorer, a Hyundai Palisade, a Toyota Grand Highlander, whatever, these are all going to be more or less the same size. Now, this one that I've got here, this ocean blue example, is a GT line. That is going to be the top trim level, and that means it is all-wheel drive. Most EV9s will be all-wheel drive. That means they have a motor on each of the axles, but you can get the more basic model with rear-wheel drive that's going to be a single motor on the rear axle. Now, if you want the most power and the most torque, of course you need the dual motor, and you don't take a huge range hit by picking those over that single motor model. So in this case, we've got 379 horsepower and 516 pound-feet of torque from those two motors. That is pretty healthy. It's good for about a 5-second run from 0 to 60, despite this car weighing just shy of 6,000 pounds. And then battery-wise, you've got a 99.8 kilowatt-hour battery that runs the length of the floor here. Now, the capacity of the battery probably doesn't mean a lot to many of you watching this, but what you do care about is the range. So on the EPA test cycle, they say that the EV9 GT line with that battery is good for 270 miles of range. You can get about 280 out of some of the other trim levels that are all-wheel drive, and then if you pick that rear-wheel drive trim, you can get a little bit more, over 300, but in any case, this one that I'm standing next to is rated at 270. Now, these are all on an 800-volt architecture, which again, may not mean a whole lot, but what that does mean for you is faster charging speed. So this is good for roughly 230 kilowatts of charge speed. If you go to a DC fast charger while you're traveling, while you're out running errands, whatever, that can do 350 kilowatts or 300, whatever you see. Most of them are 350s. This car will charge from 10 to 80% in 24 minutes according to Kia. Now, if you charge somewhere that's 150 kilowatts, it'll be a little bit slower, but the car will take as much speed as that charger will put out. So that's the charging situation on this car. Now, the final thing worth talking about as far as range and efficiency are concerned is a heat pump. So what is a heat pump? A heat pump is a device that is part of many EVs that helps not only increase the efficiency of heating the cabin, but also of keeping the batteries at a happy temperature. So what that means is in colder weather, you really want that heat pump, otherwise your range is going to relatively tank if you're trying to stay comfortable and drive the car. So on the EV9, Kia gives you a heat pump if you get the mid-tier wind trim or higher. So this GT line has one, but the most basic EV9s, the most affordable, least expensive models do not have heat pumps. If you live somewhere that's perfectly temperate, like right where I am right now, it's 75 and sunny. If it's like that where you live 24/7, you don't necessarily need a heat pump. If you live somewhere, say Boston, where you get snow and real winters, you definitely want a heat pump in your EV. So something to think about there. And of course, I mentioned the most affordable, least expensive EV9, and then the elephant in the room is these are fairly expensive cars for what they are. I will say Kia has been punching up lately, at least in my opinion, with materials quality, build quality, fit and finish, interior design. Just everything about them is really nice, but the most basic EV9, the cheapest EV9, is going to be in the mid $50,000 range, which is right where a fully loaded Telluride sits for pricing. So if you just want a Telluride but it's electric, you're going to have a little imbalance of features and range and power and all that compared to a gas one. But this one being the fully loaded GT line, this is roughly $78,000. And that is a lot of money for a Kia. And I know they're really working hard to, punch up and do all this stuff, but that's a lot of money for any car, and it's just expensive. Now, all that to say, Kia does know that. They've got some cash on the hood of these right now. So at the time of filming, it's currently April 2024, they have a $7,500 cash rebate on these cars. So they're doing that right now to keep the prices down a little bit. These don't qualify yet for the federal tax credit. They expect that they will once they start building them here in the United States, but these are not built here yet, and they're not fully certified and approved for the tax credit. So right now this doesn't qualify for tax credit, but Kia is giving you that $7,500 back, and it's honestly a better deal because everyone can get that $7,500, whereas the tax credit is kind of based on your income and your whole situation. So right now you can take a little bit off, and then if you're a Kia owner, they take a little bit more off, but either way, this is an expensive car. So with all that, let me take you through the interior, show you around, because it is indeed quite nice. Like I said, they're punching up. They want you to feel like this is worth your money because it's a lot of money. And then we'll get on the road and see how it is to drive, because here we care about the driving experience. So first things first, getting in the EV9, this is the key. Now you can use your phone for a phone as a key, but I don't have it set up because just didn't get set up for me, but you've got plenty of buttons. This is kind of the same standard Kia key that you've had for a while now, but in a kind of pebbly gray white finish. I like it, it looks nice. The only thing I don't love is that the emergency key to get in the car if the battery is dead is this separate little guy here. This is something that's happened with some newer Kia and Hyundai EVs, and it's just because they've got no room for the key inside the fob. But in any case, this is all you have to bring with you or use your phone. Now, these door handles do retract into the body when the car is locked, and they just pull straight out. Now, looking inside here, this is a pretty nice interior. Again, pretty reminiscent of a Telluride if you've seen one, but of course modernized to be a little more electrified and future looking, future feeling. So let's hop on in and talk all about it. Now, closing the door, first thing we notice here is a slightly squirkly steering wheel here. This is a slight flat bottom and a slight flat top, but still feels pretty circle-ish, and it's a comfortable steering wheel to hold. We'll talk more about that in the driving portion. Nice hard buttons here. This is for all your driver assistance stuff and for your gauge cluster configuration, and then for your media and phone over here. Then down here you've got your drive mode and what they call four-wheel drive lock. This just kind of changes the behavior of the two electric motors to kind of help you out in sticky situations. Now, one fun thing you can maybe kind of sort of see here, this Kia logo is actually backlit. So at night, this kind of has this very pleasant little illumination going on. During the day with better lighting, it just looks kind of metallic-y. So just a nice little touch. Now over here on the door panel, you've got buttons for your heated and ventilated seat, your memory, your heated steering wheel with 2 settings, not just 1. That's kind of nice touch. And then the ergo motion seat, so you can have the seat kind of do some things to help you out for not quite a full massage, but help with general comfort for a road trip if you want it to. And then further down, plenty of hard controls, including 4 window switches for 4 windows. We love to see that on every car, including an EV. And then you'll see I've got some pink lighting. There's plenty of ambient lighting going on in this car all over the place. You've got settings for kind of the tops of everything that runs across. That's where I've got this pink. And then I've also got a light blue going on further down that you'll see perhaps further on. Now, looking over here, you'll see there's a dual screen setup. It's very wide. You've got kind of your gauge cluster screen right here. This is one of 3 layouts that you can pick from, although they all look more or less like this. You can have the center display a couple different things for navigation, driver assistance, and trip sort of details. And then over here, you've got your climate control and your infotainment. Now, this does support wireless Apple CarPlay, wireless Android Auto, or you can use Kia's system. It's a very nice setup. It's kind of typical for what we've seen lately with Kia and Hyundai products, but they've got an updated skin on it. It's very snappy. I do like it quite a bit. My only complaint with the climate control bit is that this gets hidden by the steering wheel spoke. You can see that that's about how it looks for me as a driver most of the time. Now, I'm not super bothered by it because I just leave everything on auto, and there are thankfully some hard buttons here. So you've got dual zone temperature for the driver and passenger. There's also a 3rd zone in the back seat. And then you've got your hard buttons for the fan speed and for the mode. I've been leaving it in auto unless I want it off. That's no big deal. You see you've also got a volume rocker here. It's kind of a nice little implementation. You can click that in to turn the sound on and off. And then you've got these buttons here. This is 6 different buttons for kind of some key functions of the infotainment system. Now, the one interesting thing, these are actual buttons you can push in, but the thing that I don't love is they take a very deliberate press. So it's not really a push in every which way. It's kind of down and in. You just have to be a little careful with your fingers when you go to push those. And then looking further down and back, you've got couple USB-C ports here. We saw this on the Hyundai Kona and the Kia Seltos. This one on the left can be used for just power or power and data. You just push this button to change that. That is kind of nice. And then further back, we've got a couple cup holders. I like how you've got these little spots. You can stick a phone or something in here if you want and still have cup holders. That's a nice little touch. This is your biometric reader. You can set up a fingerprint if you want the car to read your fingerprint and apply different settings. That is how you do it there. You've got auto brake hold, hill descent control, your parking cameras, and your parking sensors. This is going to be a wireless phone charging mat, which is kind of nice to have. And then you've got just a small bit here with an armrest and a little bit of storage. So I've got a couple sets of sunglasses in there and a parking pass. That is, again, pretty nice. Now looking further down, there's plenty of space here if you've got something like a GoPro or a purse or something that you want to stick down here and just have as storage. Nice little bin for that. It is rubber lined, as is the cup holders and the wireless charging mat, so that everything is not going to be generally very rattly. And then looking further up, we've got a couple buttons here for your sunroof, for your sunshade, for your lights. Again, all hard buttons for the most part. Really, really like that. And you've got both a sunroof here, not a pano roof, but a regular roof, and another bigger roof above your other rows of seats. This is really, really nice and gives everyone their own little bit of sunshine, which I think is a great touch. And then with these seats, you'll notice you've got some kind of mesh headrest, which is an interesting little touch. It's kind of nice if you're looking over your shoulder on the driver's seat, checking a blind spot. You can see a little bit more, and it's also just a neat styling feature. Now you'll see these with the GT line are this kind of two-tone white and black. And then down here, this is something that's been on a lot of higher-end Kia, Hyundai, Genesis products. They're all part of the same family. This lets you move the passenger seat forward and back if you are looking to set the right rear passenger seat in the second row to be for a passenger that wants a lot of room. It's kind of a very limo-like experience. You can get this seat all the way forward and up pretty easily. Kind of a neat touch and kind of fun. Now we also discovered that if you have a friend in this seat, you can also move them forward without them asking. So that can be a little tricky as well. Now let's check out these other two rows because this is a 3-row SUV. The whole point is to have room for you and your friends and your family. So here we are looking at the second row of seats. Now the one thing that Kia's got going on that they really are fond of here is the fact that you can also have a footrest. These seats do have the footrest that powers out of them, and you can recline and have a really comfy place to sit and chill. Now, in this case, you can have this on the second row. This car also has it where the front row of seats will do the same thing with a button on the side of the seat. You can use that for the sake of kicking back and relaxing if the car is charging, you're waiting on a friend or whatever. Kind of a nice touch. Now on the front seats, you don't really want to do that while you're moving, at least not the driver's seat, but on these second row seats, you could absolutely kick back on a long road trip, if only a little bit. Now this is not going to necessarily work for everybody if you're super tall because this footrest, only works for so much. Now this is not necessarily going to work for everybody because this footrest does mean your feet get kicked up a little bit, so while you can slide the seat back, this is about as far as it's going to go. And if you're looking to fold the seats, you've got two options here. There's a button down here on the side of the seat, or there's a button up here on the top so that your third row passengers can do it as well. Talk about that in just a second, but if we hop in and close the door, you'll notice we've got some more ambient lighting here. We've got some cup holders, nice little pull-out table. We were not really sure what this is for when me and my friends were taking a look at this, but certainly nice if you're on a road trip and you just lay some things down. That is indeed a nice little touch. And then looking over here on the door panels, you've got your controls. These second row seats are both heated and ventilated, which is really nice if you're looking to give everyone the same sort of experience in the first and second rows. You do also have manually operated sunshades, so that is a great touch. And like I said, you've got this big pano roof, which is nice to have over both the second and part of the third row seats. And then if we look up here on the roof, you've also got a climate panel up here. So yes, this is a tri-zone climate control system, and you've got some vents both on the floor and here in the headliner. So nice little touch, nice little kind of knurled plastic as the ring there, and that presents pretty well. Now looking over here at the third row, obviously this is captain's chair, so I can just crawl back here, and I'm gonna go ahead and do that. Now, in the Telluride, I have some pretty good room, and I am 6'1". Looking back here, if I get fully seated, I've got really good headroom. This is fantastic. Now my knee room is a little compromised, but I could certainly do it. And the other thing is this seat that I'm sitting in front of is not slid all the way up. So this is a little tricky, but the seat will slide forward and give a little more room if you're willing to compromise the second row's legs just a touch. So it's big enough to be used as a vehicle to move adults around in if you really need to. And I think that's really great because a lot of these third rows are pretty tight for adults that are above, you know, average height or even smaller than that. So first things first, we're getting out of DC proper here, which means this is trafficy because I chose to film this in rush hour because I'm super smart. Now, a couple things worth mentioning here. First off is the shifter. So in a city environment, I actually like this shifter. It kind of sticks off the column here down by your knee. It's not in the way, and it's actually really convenient. So it's a dial that you basically twist forward for drive, back for reverse, and there's a button on the end for park. We first saw this in the BMW i3 a long time ago, and Hyundai and Kia have adapted this for a lot of their cars. I really like it. It's easy to use when you're parallel parking. If you're looking for some quick drive and reverse maneuvering, it makes it really easy. Now, as we speed up here, this is of course very trafficy when I'm dealing with a lot of quick speed up, slow down. Of course, we've got plenty of torque on tap given what this car is and all the power and torque it makes with the two motors, but for slowing down, I've got this in its full-on regenerative braking setting, which they call iPedal Max. So you've got these paddles on the steering wheel here, and they look like shift paddles, but they're not because there's no gears in this car. So if you click it forward, if you do the plus sign, that turns down the regen braking so that the car glides much like any other combustion car might. But if you use the minus paddle, that increases the rate of deceleration. And if you put it in the iPedal Max mode, it gives you one pedal driving. So really makes it nice for the sake of city use because all the quick start-stop, you don't have to deal with two pedals. It's actually less jerky, much easier to deal with if you just kind of use the throttle pedal as a rheostat, more or less, for how much speed you want or don't want. And then as we get a second lane here, we can go ahead and talk about power. So again, no gears, typical EV behavior. If you just pull out and put your foot in it, you have plenty of power and torque. And then again, oh, I need to slow down, just ease right off and use that rheostat. So plenty of power and torque. It doesn't feel fast, but it is certainly quick. It is exactly what you'd expect for a car like this, and it is just more than enough. I'm pleased with the power and torque of it. Now, with the brake pedal itself, if you do have to go for it, it's got pretty good feel for a car like this. They blend in the regen and the regular friction brakes pretty well, all things considered. Now, as I go to change lanes, one thing that Kia does on pretty much all their cars at this point, I think, is the cameras in the side view mirrors. So when you've got your signal on, you've got a camera feed in your cluster that just shows you what's going on beyond the mirrors, beyond the blind spot monitors themselves. It makes things really nice and easy. And again, having just this insta torque on tap makes kind of getting over and merging and changing lanes, everything's just really pleasant. Now, as we go into this off-ramp, this is what I want to talk about, is the handling and the ride of this car. So the actual handling is pretty good. You've got the battery pack in the bottom of the car, like I mentioned. It weighs about 1,200 pounds according to Kia, and that means that the car will corner pretty flat. It feels pretty good for what it is. It's certainly confidence-inspiring, where a lot of other large crossovers may not be. And that's just by virtue of being an EV that's got a ton of weight down low. What this is not going to be is a handling machine. And I say that because you can feel that it's maybe a little underdamped or a little undersprung. It's really soft. They do that because you have to get a good ride. The car is very heavy, and there's a delicate balance of spring rate and shock tuning where the EV9 will ride well but not be so stiff that it shakes your fillings out. When I owned my Porsche Cayenne, it was very composed, but it was so stiff. It was a terrible car in the city. This is really pleasant when the roads get bad. Where it's a little less pleasant for me is when you get some kind of undulations in the road, whether that's on a highway or just anything where the road is less than perfect. You can tell the rear in particular is a bit soft. Like I said, the ride is pretty good. So for most people doing most things, you probably won't care that it's a little soft, but over bumps, when the whole car compresses, when the suspension compresses down, that's where you feel it just kind of moves a little more than you think it should. Now, these don't have any sort of adaptive suspension. They do have load leveling in the rear, but it's not an air setup. It's kind of the Nevomat setup that they use on the Telluride as well. So All that to say, it's a pretty passive system. The shocks are not going to do anything based on drive mode. The suspension will not change based on drive mode. And then the final piece of this, of course, is the steering. It's got pretty good feel for what it is. You know, it's not going to be the most communicative. That's not what they're going for. That's not the point of this car. It is certainly somewhat heavy, and that, I think, is heavy to an appropriate extent. It's not going to be sports car steering in any way, but it's not super light with completely, you know, devoid of feedback like some other vehicles I've driven. And then as we're out here doing highway speeds, finally we're out of the city, heading out toward more of the suburbs. A couple other things worth mentioning. It is pretty quiet in here. So the ride is great. It's also pretty quiet. It's a good place to just spend a lot of time. And that is augmented by the fact that Kia continues to have one of the best highway driving assistance suites on the market. So one button push and lift off the throttle, and now you've got whatever speed you wanted to do just set. And it's going to lane center, it's going to steer for you, it's going to maintain whatever gap you want, and it's going to show you the cars that it can see in the lanes. It's showing me in the heads-up display, which of course you probably can't see from the camera, but it knows what's going on around us. Now you do have to keep your hand on the wheel. Even just a light grip on the bottom spoke is all you need, but it's doing a really nice job with this. I've used it extensively for multi-hour journeys, and it works pretty nicely. Now the other thing that it will do is it will change lanes for you. So if you put your turn signal on, it will change lanes, and it will do it a little slowly. So you have to really give it some time. And if you give it even the slightest bit of steering input, it will cancel and make you do it yourself. So a little bit of there. GM Super Cruise continues to be the leader in that because it's just such a different system compared to what everyone else is doing right now. But for the non-Super Cruise, the non-LiDAR mapped road sort of systems, this is still one of the better ones, and they've got a nice implementation of it here. And then otherwise, whether you're letting the car do some of the work or you're preferring to drive it all yourself, you do have really good visibility out of here. The dash is nice and low. I really hate tons of screens in cars. I'm finally being louder about that, but despite that, these screens are nice and out of the way. I've got a nice low dash, good visibility. The fact that this EV9 is pretty square and chunky actually lends itself to being pretty easy to maneuver and see out of. The window line is fairly low as well. And then if you've got people behind you in the other seats, you do also have a digital rear view mirror, which I don't like using at night. It is yet another screen to distract my eyeballs, but if you've got people behind you, it's a nice touch, and you can just flip the toggle back and forth to have it or not. And so that's the Kia EV9. It is a really well thought out vehicle. I think it is going to do well in the market in general. It is more or less an electric Telluride. Like I said, if you like the Telluride and just want something that's electric, this is going to be your girl. Now, the one thing to think about, MSRP for MSRP, because I talked about those incentives, but those are always subject to change. This is priced pretty similar to a Rivian R1S, which does seat 6 to 7 people. It is, you know, a very similar vehicle in concept and a little different in execution. It is going to be, I think, a little more clever in certain ways. And I think it's going to be a little bit more driver focused than the EV9. I'm not saying this is a bad car to drive. It is a fine car to drive, and it is exactly what a lot of people are going to want. But if you're looking at that price point, you've got two similar yet fairly different options there. That's kind of where we're at right now, and I do think they're both worth consideration for different reasons. So thank you as always for coming along. Really appreciate the views on this video, the subscriptions to the channel, so be sure to like, share, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. Follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, now X, and head over to outmotorsports.com. We've got a whole community of LGBT automotive enthusiasts and motorsports competitors over there. We'd love to have you join us for some events both on the racetrack and on the street, online and in person. So till next time, stay safe, be well. Thanks for coming along. See you for the next one.